Today we know him as one of the greatest artists in history, but he never felt that way during his lifetime. Despite his illness and numerous mental health problems, Vincent van Gogh created many of the most amazing works of art that we see today. He was born in 1853 in a small village in Holland to Anna carpenters and Theodore van Gogh. Anna miscarried her first child, which was a son, and they were supposed to name him Vincent Willem van Gogh. But a year later, they had another son, and they decided to name him after their dead son, Vincent. And he is the one to become the greatest artist ever. The loss of her first child put the mother of the family, Anna, in deep crisis. She was suffering from severe depression, which made her unable to have a good relationship with and give enough affection to other of her children. Especially as the oldest child, Vincent was the most affected by this. It is believed this early life trauma could be one of the reasons that Vincent faced severe mental health problems later in his own life. This trauma also made him obsessed with the thinking that no one loves him, and therefore he was trying hard to be taken care of and loved by others. How did Vincent van Gogh get interested in painting? This interest in painting also goes back to his mum, Anna. She was so interested in painting and nature, and she was an amateur painter. Usually she will accompany her children in nature and will tell them to paint from what they see in their surroundings, while she would paint by herself too. This idea caused her children to develop an interest in this field. Especially Vincent was one of those children who got the most attracted to arts and painting. Also, at the end of the day, Anna would get some flowers with her and would decorate her home with them. This fondness for art by Anna caused Vincent to develop a deep fondness for nature alongside the painting, where later in his art life, Vincent used these images and ideas from nature in his masterpieces. Vincent attended school, and he was doing great there and was interested in studying, but as their family was living in poor conditions, they made him leave school and rather work to support his family. This was something usual among poor families in Europe at that time. A lot of children must leave school and should work to support their families. Vincent was one of those workers who had to support his family. While searching for work, he ended up finding a job at Gogh and Sea Gallery. Shortly, Vincent was in love with art. When, for the first time, he entered the gallery, he found it a dreamland. He was in love with his workplace. It was sort of a new school for him. This was a place where he started to learn the different styles of arts, encountered world-famous artists, and learned different languages such as German, English, and French. After a while of working in this gallery, Vincent left that place and moved to London in the search of doing the same job of art dealing. 20 years Vincent ended up in a gallery in London, which was owned by a lady called Sarah Ursula Loya and her daughter Eugene. According to his writing, Vincent had a huge interest in this gallery in London. Here the story gets slightly complicated because Vincent fell in love with someone in that gallery, but it is not clear where it was with Sarah or her daughter. It is believed that Vincent was in love with Sarah, but this would represent not a good image of Vincent. So some of the writers stick with the idea that Vincent was in love with Eugene, Sarah's daughter. Either way, he was in a relationship with one of them, and he ended up proposing to marry this mysterious woman, but found out that his ideal woman is in a relationship with someone else. This caused a huge pain for Vincent, and he had to leave the gallery with great disappointment forever. Between the age of 20 to 23, Vincent was preoccupied with religion. He developed an interest in Christianity. This was not surprising because he grew up in a religious family. Both his father and grandfather were priests. This could be the reason why he was interested in religion. Alongside his art dealing job, he was always trying to stick to the principle of his religion. Where these were not so compatible, it was hard for him to be both a dealer and an honest religious person. This created a crisis in his job. When a customer was coming to his art gallery and tried to buy a work, Vincent would tell them the truth about the artwork. For instance, he would tell the customers that this art might be useless and doesn't have value for them to spend this much money on it. This would put off lots of customers from the gallery, and eventually this caused him to get fired from the Gogh gallery. With his recent devotion to religion, he found it hard to have an art dealing job. Being just 23, he decided to go to university to study theology at the University of Amsterdam. It was something that he had always had an interest in it. He was doing well and had a great passion for his course until he faced a dilemma. Vincent has been told if he wants to continue his course, then he must attend the Latin language exam and get its certificate. Admittedly, taking part in that exam was not something challenging, since Vincent knew some Latin-rooted languages such as French, German and English. But he denied participating in the exam and told the university that we don't need to learn the Latin language to study theology, and it doesn't make sense either. This caused tension between the university and Vincent and resulted in Vincent being kicked out of the university. When not able to study at the university, he left the Netherlands and went to Belgium and tried to be a priest in an evangelical church, but the church there didn't accept him as a priest. Following this denial, he went to Brussels. He was interested to be an unusual priest teaching Christianity to poor people. Eventually, in 1878, he ended up in a church that was close to Brussels coal mine. The authority in church welcomed him warmly, because no one was interested to be a priest there, since it was a dirty and slum place. The people there were poor and working class, and it was hard for the church to have a good connection with the workers. This unprecedented willingness of Vincent made the authority in that church welcome him and provide him with adobe and some monthly allowance. The situation had improved a bit for desperate Vincent. He had established a good relationship with the workers in the coal mine. He was able to gather the workers and taught them about Christianity and Jesus. Teaching there made him establish a very close bond with the workers, even giving him a nickname, the coal mine Jesus. This sort of relationship was unprecedented there. No priest had established this sort of relationship with those workers before. His ideal life there did not last for long. By offering his adobe to a destitute woman to live, and he decided to sleep and live with coal mine workers, he initiated an argument between himself and the authority from the church. He was happy about his closeness with workers, but the authority from the church was not happy about this. Eventually, they decided to kick out Vincent as a priest from the church. By having been kicked from the church, Vincent came to a very deep disappointment and believed he is not able to achieve or do anything in his life. It was at the time that he decided to go back to his childhood interest, painting. At the age of 27, he sent a letter to his brother Theo and wanted him to give Vincent a hand in this regard. Theo agreed and committed to sending him 50 francs monthly and wanted Vincent to paint as much as he can and send these paintings to him to sell them. Vincent started painting and had a deep desire for doing this. Despite finding his new passion and way of life, Vincent was still struggling with some sort of mental health issues or was deeply depressed. He states, if a voice inside you tells you that you can't paint, paint with all your heart at that moment. That voice will go away by itself. In 1885, Vincent painted one of his first masterpieces, Potato Eaters. In this masterpiece, he depicts the real life of working class people. This work had a dark theme, and it was not easy to sell it in Paris at that time, as the arts in Paris were moved towards modernism. So Vincent decided to visit Paris and familiarize himself with this new style of painting. He, with his brother Theo, visited some galleries in Paris, and Vincent found himself completely in a new style of paint, which was created by Parisian artists. Vincent was impressed by this new style of painting and tried to adapt this painting style to his own. In this new style, artists were painting with colors, and they invented a way of painting going to the city center and depicting people's life or depicting the sunset. They also paint themselves in the mirror or paint from a live model sitting in front of them. Vincent believes that to be a good artist, you should devote your whole life to it. He states, I feel a creative force in me. I believe that the day will finally come when I can draw a good painting every day. I try my best and work very hard because I know that I am far from creating beautiful works. But beautiful works mean a lot of hard work, disappointment and perseverance. Receiving a letter from his brother telling him that this year they had a hard time in art dealing. This news made Vincent to be disappointed in himself and thought he is useless and always relied on others. He decided to do a suicide and kill himself, grabbing a pistol and went off to a field and shot himself in the chest and later died from that wound at the age of 37. This was a tragic end to a legend who hasn't been enough appreciated in his lifetime. Now we know Vincent van Gogh was one of the masters in creating brilliant masterpieces. Recently, one of his panels sold for over $82 million, which makes him one of the artists who have the most valuable collection.
In the life of the painter, death may perhaps not be the most difficult thing. For myself, I declare I don't know anything about it. But the sight of the stars always makes me dream. Why, I say to myself, should the spots of light in the firmament be inaccessible to us? Maybe we can take death to go to a star. And to die peacefully of old age would be to go there on foot. For the moment, I'm going to go to bed because it's late. And I wish you good night and good luck with a handshake. Your loving Vincent.